episode 555 of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. On this Friday night, going to be talking about WWE Friday Night Smackdown, as well as this week's AEW Rampage. And after the recaps, might talk some pro wrestling news right here, right now. 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Hey Wrestling Fanatics, welcome to 360 Wrestling Fanatic on this Friday night, getting ready to kick off the weekend. Big day on Sunday, and I'm talking about the 20th annual Puppy Bowl coming up this Sunday. No, I wasn't talking about some silly little football game. But we have an early day this Sunday, starting at 3 a.m. here in the United States. New Japan Pro Wrestling, new beginning in Osaka. Gonna be a big show. One of Kazuchika Okada's final matches in New Japan Pro Wrestling against Hiroshi Tanahashi. Maybe one of Okada's toughest opponents in New Japan. And this could be the last time these two great pro wrestlers go at it one-on-one. And another great match you are not going to want to miss. The American Dragon Bryan Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr. Those two matches right there definitely could be match of the year candidates. And I know already I am going to try to be up 3 a.m. early Sunday morning. Go right to NJPW World and watch the new beginning in Osaka. And as of right now, I do plan on having an episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic, or maybe Good Morning Wrestling Fans. Maybe, depending when it ends, if it's over in enough time before I leave to go to work that morning. But I will talk about it on one of the podcasts, whether if it's Good Morning Wrestling Fans or 360 Wrestling Fanatic. I'm sure I will definitely talk about it, though. Just not sure when as of right now, but stay tuned. At 360 Wrestling Podcast, or at 360 Wrestling Pod, like I always say, right when there is a new episode posted right here on Spreaker, it gets posted on X, so you could easily just click the link, go right to the page of the podcast. Or, like I always say, you could go to the YouTube channel. You could subscribe on Apple Music, Google Play Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio, CastBox. It's just about anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can listen to 360 Wrestling Podcasts. So let's get into the pro wrestling we got to watch on this Friday night. And let's start off with WWE Friday Night Smackdown, which was live from the Spectrum Center in Charlotte, North Carolina. We start things off on Smackdown with the WWE CCO Triple H in the ring with the Raw General Manager Adam Pearce and the SmackDown General Manager Nick Aldis. And they announce that there are going to be qualifying matches for the Men's Elimination Chamber match. And the first one we get right off the bat here, Drew McIntyre taking on the phenomenal AJ Styles. Really good match here. It is Drew McIntyre getting the win to advance in the chamber. You know me, I would have loved to see AJ Styles qualify, one of my favorite superstars. But I knew they were going to put Drew McIntyre in the chamber, because the way they've been building him, this push he's been receiving lately, you knew they were going to put him in the Elimination Chamber. You knew it. So McIntyre advances to the Elimination Chamber. And next up, Bianca Belair defeats Michin Mia Yim to qualify for the Women's Elimination Chamber. And there's a silly vignette with Pretty Deadly, and they see the Queen of England in the sky, and it's just silly. And tag team action is next. Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate defeat DIY, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa to become the number one contenders for the WWE Tag Team Championships. They're really good match here. And there was one impressive spot by Tyler Bate. He has Johnny Gargano on his back, and he has Tommaso Ciampa, and he does the swing that Claudio Castagnoli does. Very impressive spot there by Tyler Bate. And once again, I am definitely enjoying Pete Dunne now that he is back as Pete Dunne. Even though I did enjoy him as part of the Brawling Brutes along with Sheamus and Ridge Holland, but I just wasn't, even though I wasn't really a fan of the Butch character, I still thought him, Sheamus, and Holland worked pretty well together. And we have Randy Orton defeating Sami Zayn in the main event to qualify for the Men's Elimination Chamber. So it looks like they're going with the storyline that Sami Zayn trying to get a spot at WrestleMania, and now he has lost the qualifying match for the Men's Elimination Chamber match. And I forgot to mention this. We find out that Logan Paul will be in action on SmackDown next week. He will be taking on The Miz. And in one of the other qualifying matches for the Elimination Chamber match next week, Dirty Dom, Dominic Mysterio, taking on KO, Kevin Owens. That should be a pretty good one. I'm looking forward to that. And that was tonight's Friday Night Smackdown. And now let's go over to TNT, which was taped last Wednesday night after Dynamite Live from the Footprint Center in Phoenix, Arizona. Our commentators for tonight are Tony Schiavone, Excalibur, and Daddy Magic Matt Menard. We start things off with a trios match. The Undisputed Kingdom, the team of the Kingdom, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett, with Roderick Strong and Adam Cole and Wardlow in their corner, defeat the team of the AEW International Champion Orange Cassidy, Rocky Romero, and Trent Barretta. The Young Bucks, Nicholas and Matt Jackson, are in action, and they defeat the team of Mondo Rocks and Robbie Litt. The Young Bucks were great tonight. They come out with the same white suits that they wore on Dynamite last Wednesday, even though, it was the same night, but they came out in the same suits, covered in Darby Allin's blood, and then cut a really good heel promo. I don't know about anyone else, but I am definitely looking forward to that Tag Team Championship match at the Revolution pay-per-view March 3rd. And next up, CMLL's Mystico defeats Matt Sydal. Pretty exciting match here. And in this week's Rampage main event, women's action, Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander, with Stokely halfway in their corner, defeat the Outcasts, Ruby Soho and Saraya. And during this match, Ruby Soho has like a paper or a note or something in her pocket, and Tony Schiavone puts over that could be the letter that Daniel Garcia wrote to her, but Saraya didn't give her. And during this match, Ruby Soho finally had enough, walked out on Saraya. And after the match, Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander were celebrating their victory in the ring with Stokely halfway. And then we see Sky Blue make her way to the ringside area. They have a bit of a stare down. And then the lights go out. When the lights come back on, standing next to Sky Blue is the AEW TBS champion, Julia Hart. And they have a stare down, and Statlander, Nightingale, they want to go, and Stokely halfway does the heel thing, hides behind Chris Statlander. But Hart and Blue exit. I'm sure we will end up seeing a tag team match in the future, either on an episode of Rampage, or they could put this maybe on the 0 hour for Revolution coming up. And definitely no disrespect to any of the 4 ladies in this match, but I'm not quite sure if this is quite a pay-per-view match. Like I said, could be on the 0 hour. Should be a good match. And that was tonight's AEW Rampage. Also, one thing I forgot to mention during the SmackDown recap is Paul Heyman has a visit with Triple H in the back in his office, and he informs Paul Levesque that next week he will be joined by the Tribal Chief, the head of the table, the WWE Undisputed Universal Champion Roman Reigns, and The Rock, returning back to Smackdown next week. And a new match has been added for Collision tomorrow night, and that is the Virtuosa Deonna Purrazzo taking on Kiera Hogan. And some good news for AEW. Dynamite on Wednesday drew the largest Canadian audience since March. And Progress Wrestling and Defy Wrestling have announced a merger. Sounds interesting. And I talked about the press event this morning on Good Morning Wrestling Fans, but there was one pretty important thing I did forget to mention, actually, and that was the announcement of a new show coming to X, and it's going to be called WWE Speed, which is, I'm guessing, just going to be one match, but going to be very short matches, talking about more action, quicker, faster matches. And I'm guessing, because it said something like around 5 minutes the matches are going to be. I guess definitely interested to see what that's going to be like. Apparently that is coming to X this spring, and TNA has announced that the Rebellion pay-per-view, they're going back to Vegas again, April 20th at the Palms, same venue as the Hard to Kill pay-per-view. And then the day after, they will be doing the Impact tapings also at the Palms. And that is all for this Friday night episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. I just want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in and listening tonight. As always, you can go right to the comment section right here on Spreaker, YouTube, or wherever you are listening to this podcast at right now. You can leave your thoughts and your opinions on tonight's WWE Friday Night Smackdown, AEW Rampage, and if you want to give any predictions for this Sunday's big New Japan Pro Wrestling New Beginning in Osaka card. And I just want to say, NJPW World, I definitely recommend checking it out. Even if you just try it out for 1 month, it is definitely worth it. So, like I've been saying, it is available on Roku now, which is what I use it on. And for me so far, I haven't had any problems with it, but I have heard of people having some problems, but so far it's been fine for me. Definitely worth checking out. And I will be back tomorrow morning for Good Morning Wrestling Fans to probably preview tomorrow night's episode of AEW Saturday Collision. And I will try to be back tomorrow night with a new episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic to talk all about Collision. And like I said, sometime Sunday, I guess I could, depending on what time the show ends, could talk about it. The new beginning, on Good Morning Wrestling Fans, or do 360 Wrestling Fanatic sometime during the day on Sunday. But I will definitely try to talk about it at some time on some podcasts, just not sure yet. But I will talk to everyone tomorrow morning. But until then, I am Lance, and I am a wrestling fanatic.